honest communication in relationships. And by relationships, I don't just mean like boyfriend and boyfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend. I mean with everything, with your family, whether it's your brother or your sister or a cousin or your parents, anyone, your friends as well. But what I'm trying to say is that honesty that you have in those relationships, and depending on them, if you're closer or not, you might have more or less honesty. But I think something that's kind of missed a lot these days is just being kind of vulnerable in these relationships. And I don't mean like every time you see them, you just start bursting out crying. And maybe you do. I'm sure there's been times where that's happened. There's definitely been with me. Um, but yeah, like being vulnerable, being honest is never gonna ruin like a real relationship. You know, your mum isn't gonna look at you differently if you just tell her how you feel, or something that happened in your life that you regret, or something you did that you look back on in like a lot of disappointment. Having that honesty and just being vulnerable to that situation is is really important. And I think most of the time you'll look back at it and go, I don't think you'll ever look back on that situation where you were honest and vulnerable with any sort of regret at all. Whereas looking back on the situations that you were in that you haven't talked about, it's gonna have so much more regret every time. But obviously, if it was that easy, why wouldn't people do it? You know, there's been times where I've hid stuff and not been completely honest with people, despite how much I care about them. And that is predominantly just due to fear or embarrassment. Um, and I think the kind of problem with it is my mentality was, if I say this, they're not going to appreciate me as much anymore. Maybe they're not going to want to be as close anymore. Um, and I just had that fear. Um, but recently, I've been trying to be more honest with that kind of thing. Um, Especially with like new relationships that have formed, because I just have like so much more care about being honest, because I'm now looking at it and I feel so much like freer. Like there's no weight on me. Um, like metaphorically, no weight on me, because I'm not holding anything in and I'm just being completely open. And maybe there are times where it's like fuck, I wish I didn't say that, because you know sometimes like you're gonna be honest and it might affect that other person. Like they might be like, you know, firstly, why didn't you tell me? Secondly, what were you thinking doing that? Like I had a situation recently where I told someone something after kind of telling them another thing before, and they were quite rightly probably pretty pissed, but it's worked out completely fine, and I think I'm closer with them than ever. So it kind of makes me feel a lot better. So yeah, I think that's my kind of message. Just be honest, be vulnerable. If there's something you're hiding from someone for a certain reason, or maybe you just want to kind of like expand your relationship with that person further, just tell them the truth. Say for example, you know you're talking to this person, but you're not talking as much as you want to. Instead of just talking less and less and less because you don't want to be the one to say, oh, I like you, can we talk more? Just message them, say, why aren't we talking? As simple as that. I think that's just so missed these days, because everyone wants to be like the the one who doesn't care, and the one who can just like breeze through everything. So yeah, I'm trying to think of a cool ending. Pretend this isn't happening. Be vulnerable and be honest. That is not a cool ending, but I have no time, so bye.